Orange one.
Okay, Peaches, you ready?
Daddy, do you like my picture?
You already said that. It's good.
He's trapped, but he thinks he's free.
No offense.
He's trapped in the
No
attic.
offense,
Wow.
literally.
Wow. He's trapped in no fence.
Literally.
An O-shaped fence. There you go. Hi, baby girl.
Good morning. So
Good morning.
we are studying the Beta Satan material from John Bevere, and we're doing it on 3 levels. The higher level is the DVDs, which we're watching on Sunday mornings. The mid level is the book, and that's something that each person in the house is supposed to be reading the chapter, and then there's a small daily portion in the back, including declarations, which have been really good. And then the deep level is John has a workbook also, and the workbook goes deeper into questions and lots more scripture. So this is a very hearty, meaty, in which is what we're doing in the daily basis. So the last time we did this, we talked about offense being the bait or the trap or the snare of Satan for the purpose of taking us to do his will. Luke 17:1 says, "It is impossible that no offense should come, but woe to him from whom they do come." We are going to have opportunities to be offended. We are every person has opportunity. He also talked about the levels of offense are varied based on your expectation of the person. So, you expect a non-believer, at a really low, a lower level. The non-believer, you don't expect a whole lot of godliness necessarily out of a non-believer, so the expectation is lower. You expect your brother, sister, mother, father to treat you in a certain way, so your expectation is higher. And so therefore when they do something, that hurts your feelings, you're going to take that more personally than if somebody that's like a stranger on the street, you have a very low expectation of. And a lot of people have a even much higher expectation of a pastor or a spiritual leader. And so when they do something that's wrong to you or you perceive is wrong to you, you have a much higher opportunity to be offended. And the significant issue with offense is one, you don't always realize that there's a great deal of deception that happens there. It can cause a root of bitterness.
Yes.
Which is, let's see, hold on. It's in Hebrews.
The one thing about deception is it's deceiving.
Yep, exactly. And Hebrews 12:14 and 15 talk about a root of bitterness. And the root of bitterness is definitely offense. 2 Timothy 2:26 tells us the reason that Satan does this, what's his goal? It's to take us captive to do his will. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to take us captive to do his will. And then he can, when he's doing his will through us, we become objects of causing offense in others. And don't even realize it. You start looking at some of the things going on in your life. So it's a significant issue in the church. It's a significant issue in families. It's a significant issue across the board.
A question for
There's
you.
a summary.
Would you say that the offense a pastor can cause or the offense a spouse can cause would be higher?
I would have thought I don't know.
I would think a spouse.
I would have thought a spouse too because of the closeness of the relationship.
Probably depends on the nature of what's being done.
It probably does. And then you think about, there's a level of grace with a spouse because you're married to somebody and their shortcomings, and there's that love, there's that affection, there's the the bomb that happens between a husband and a wife.
Yeah.
That can smooth that out, especially if it's we sow so much good into the relationship, something bad happens, and then we sow good again. So there's that, hey, I can draw on the bank account of all the good things. Now, obviously, with a spouse, if the bank account is mostly filled with bad things, another bad thing just makes it worse and worse.
Put you into overdraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas you might not have that with a pastor or a leader.
Sure. With the pastor or leader, it's the perception is based on not having full knowledge of who they are, expecting that they're perfect. It's so many people look at a spiritual leader and go, oh, well, he would never fall into, blank, blank, blank sin. He just talks about that from the pulpit. I can't believe he would have ever done that. And then, the leader becomes human and the people just can't tolerate it.
I have a question for my children. As a pastor, because you know that I am called to that sort of thing. Am I perfect?
No.
Have I screwed it up?
Yes.
I have lots and lots of flaws. Yeah, of course, you've never seen any of those flaws, have you?
Ha ha ha.
It's so funny I forgot how to laugh.
Go ahead, Dave.
So, that's where we are. We did not broadcast the first question of the deeper part of the book. And I would highly recommend anybody who really wants to hang along with us, get this book. It's worth it. And I think the book actually comes with a summary DVD, which is good as well. But the book's got a lot of, it's got hearty chapters, declarations, which are very helpful and should be spoken out loud. And then in the back, there's I think there's 30 days of like a daily devotion. It's not as deep as the workbook, but it's decent material. Probably the other big thing I'll bring out is an offense is real or perceived, and it still makes an offense. So we can think someone lied about us, betrayed us, hurt our feelings, called out something, told somebody something, and it might not be true. And sometime later, we may even find out the truth. It doesn't change the fact, though, that when you have an offense, either based on something real or something perceived, it has the same impact. My expectation would be if somebody does something that you're offended at or that you're hurt at or you feel betrayed by, it might be a great idea to talk to them and see if it's true. And not just assume that what you heard or what you saw or what somebody told you is accurate. So, anyway, when you and I get sick, we often go to the doctor to find out what's wrong. In order to properly diagnose our sickness, we're asked to describe the symptoms we're experiencing. In the same way, being offended is a sickness of the soul that causes certain symptoms. List 7 or more symptoms or fruit of being offended. Now, this would have been in the chapter. So can you guys give me some fruit of being offended? No, this is still chapter 1, question number 2. So you just put a 2. Okay, so symptoms or fruit of being offended. Do you remember reading that in the chapter? Yep, A.
Is it in the back of the book? Oh, it's only in that book. Okay.
No, it should be in that book.
Oh.
But it might be, see, I've read more of the book than you have. And this particular deep dive is in chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book, so it's possible it's in chapter 2. If none of you remember reading it, I'll just read out a list.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I've got way more than 7. Do you have some?
I think so.
Okay.
Bitterness,
Yep.
unforgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
anger,
Mm-hmm.
envy,
Mm-hmm.
resentment.
Good. Awesome. Is that chapter 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Where'd
Cool.
you find that, Matt?
It's right by the declaration. It's page 10 top.
Thank you. Okay.
I
So
didn't get them all.
I can read them to you. Bitterness,
Okay.
unforgiveness, anger,
Okay.
envy,
Okay.
resentment.
Two, three, four, five. I've got five.
Okay, so you don't have to write this down, but just write down anything that lands with you, because my list is like 30. Okay? So, bitterness, anger, lack of love, being withdrawn, sowing discord, arrogance, righteousness, a victim mentality, self-pity or feeling sorry for yourself, building walls, lying.
Would you? I need. Would you? I'm trying to catch up.
Okay,
No,
I'm just.
just
you
give
don't need to write all of these down.
Have a
Just,
conversation with her after the
yep,
fact.
and I can show you my list. But it's just if something jumps out at you and goes, "Oh yeah, totally, have seen that." Write that down.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, wait, I forgot
impatience,
to write in cursive.
self-preservation, boasting, provoking, deception, unkindness, complaining, and somebody who's quick to point out the worst. Somebody who's always looking at the worst or the worst case scenario can be offended.
Spitters. Do you know what it means when they say a spitter? You spit on the barbecue? Arthur talked about in Argentina, when they would get barbecues together, and as a test of their manhood, they would get the community together, because in Argentina, which is an exalted nation, there's massive barbecues. So if the devil can't keep the barbecue from happening, he'll spit on the meat between the barbecue shed and the table. So you got these people that'll just fault find, look for every little thing that's wrong. You try to build somebody up, and they'll say, "Oh, well, what about this, and this." This critiquing, fault finding mentality. Same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Always pointing out the worst and never able to see any good in anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big symptom of being offended. Okay?
Okay.
So, now thinking about those types of things, and because we are broadcasting, you do not need to share personally. You don't need to share names. You don't need to share any personal sharing. Time will happen off camera. But to think about, do you know someone who exhibits many, if not most, of the symptoms? How would you describe the quality of their life? So, without going into who displays these symptoms, thinking about somebody who displays several of these symptoms, what is the quality of their life?
What does that mean?
So, okay, so,
You want me to frame this one?
yeah, go for it.
Quality of life. How does it look? How does their life look? Do they look like they're enjoying their life? Do they look like they're not enjoying their life?
Okay.
Are
So-
they healthy or are they unhealthy? Do they have good relationships? Do they have poor relationships? Are they walking in with a lightness and a happiness, or a heaviness and a misery? You know, are they angry all the time? You know, that kind of thing. What's the quality of life? Does anybody have anything they want to contribute here?
They have only thinking about themselves, and they're rude to others, and they're always attacking other people.
Oh, that's good. Anybody else?
You know, I think one word that keeps coming up to me is snippy. And you know, I understand that there are times and places when we are sincerely vexed with someone, but we should be living our lives from a place not of vexation, but of gratitude for what we do have, and being able to celebrate, not just point out the bad, but also be able to, you know, can you point out 3 times as much good as you can point out the bad? Can can you overweigh and say, even nevertheless, even though I see all this dirt, yeah, I see the gold over here, and here, and here, and here, and here.
That's good.
I could think of somebody that demonstrated this, but I can also say, hey, look, I can see the gold in their life. And here it is.
Anybody else? Miss, do you want to share anything? Not required, just asking.
Anger, aggression,
That's good.
Aggression's a good one.
Lily, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. So, I've got a very poor quality of life. Generally, they're very unhappy. Regularly whining, complaining, angry, attacking, controlling, raging, and then can be sad and depressed depending on the situation. Lonely, because they start building up walls and separating themselves from people because they don't want to get hurt again, so they start protecting themselves, and then they're lonely or negative or quick to think the worst. Focused on self was really good pull, Isaac thinks. There's a summary at the bottom. It's called PowerPoint. The person who can hurt you the most is the person that's closest to you. Why is that? Because our expectation is higher upon them. The closer the relationship, the more severe the offense. You'll find the greatest hatred amongst people who were once close. And that's from John Bevere. And that's on page 6 in your book and session 1 in the video that we watched. Which is
I remember him saying.
yeah, which is why I would think that husband-wife would be more of a charge of offense, but yeah.
Especially because of the closeness and the capacity to hurt. Because if you know all their stuff,
Right.
you can.
Sharpen those arrows a little sharper.
Yeah.
So, there are a few things that Satan delights in more than bringing. So this is question 3. So that was 2A and B. This is question 3.
Wait.
And 3 has an A and a B.
Oh, 3.
So
Wait,
there.
We're on
So-
3A now.
I
3A.
thought that was just 2A.
Yeah, well, that was 2A and B. It doesn't have to. It ended up being 2 parts. It's fine. But we did both, so it's completely fine. I'm just trying to.
So if I have one part like that,
It's
okay.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. There are a few things Satan delights in more than bringing offense between family members, friends, and fellow believers. He enjoys magnifying the mistakes and failures of those closest to us in hopes that we'll, quote unquote, take the bait and get offended. His number one goal is to divide and conquer. Okay? Isaac, last time I had asked you to look up Psalm 55, 12 to 14. So would you like, because I have it here, I can just read it, or would you prefer to look it up?
I'll look it up.
Okay, thanks. Psalm 55, 12 to 14.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, go ahead.
12 to 15, you said?
14.
14. For it is not an enemy who taunts me, then I could bear it. It is not an adversary who deals insolently with me, then I could hide from him. But it is you, a man, my equal, my companion, my familiar friend. We used to take sweet counsel together. Within God's house we walked in the throng.
So that's David, I believe, speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the essence of my companion, my close friend. You know, we used to enjoy playing together. We used to enjoy sharing secrets together. We used to enjoy, fellowship over whatever together. And then there was an injury, there was an insult, there was a betrayal, there was something that happened, and now if somebody in school that is in one of your classes and you barely know them sees a note that you've written and laughs and says to people, oh, I just saw this in his notebook, ha ha ha, it's so funny. You know, he drew a picture of a bunny rabbit. We'll say, you know, for the boys, or you know, and you know, spreads that around. Okay, so this is not somebody you have a relationship with. You're irritated. It's hurtful. It's dumb. You know, whatever. But if you have somebody that's been your friend for years, they know your weaknesses, they know your strengths, they know how to get at you. They take something that you guys have personally shared just between the two of you, and all of a sudden, for some reason, he decides he's mad at you and starts spreading through the school this deep, intimate thing. Okay, which one of those is going to hurt more?
The second one.
Of course. And that's exactly what David's talking about here. And that's where you've got this, you know, this deep-rooted, I can't believe they did that to me, and can really cause damage. So, on the flip side of this, if Satan's always looking to get us to fall, make sure you're not an instrument of it.
Yeah.
Okay? If somebody shares something with you, keep it private. You know, don't when they do something that hurts you, pull those private things out to hurt them. Because who are you representing? God when you do that?
No.
Whose will are you representing when you do that?
Careful.
Yeah, Satan's. And that's not who we want to represent. So be careful. We use words. Words should not be used as pointed arrows to destroy people. We should not look for what's going to hurt somebody worse to be what's coming out of our mouths. And, you know, if we've got a pool of things inside that can be used as arrows, the enemy's going to try to get us to use the pool of things as arrows. So be careful. Because we can really do damage with our words. I'd rather have a broken bone than some of the words that people can fling at and have flung at me. This whole sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me is a lie from hell.
Yeah.
That is a not true axiom at all. It's true that sticks and stones can break your bones, but the words are worse. And here's another way the enemy works that you should be very aware of. The enemy can take something that you've worked through, you've forgiven, you've kind of restored the relationship. You know, the person is repentant, and then he can bring it up. Oh, remember when they did this? And then you start thinking about it again, and he can bring it up and bring it up. The memory's not going to go away. You have to be very intentional when you've forgiven somebody, when he brings it up, to say, I forgave them, we're working through it. I forgave them, they're working through it. It's just, you know, so be aware. This is very layered, many depths, and we're going to go through a lot of these ways to recognize and to fight. But the two questions that I want you to think about, okay, and this would be more of a sharing thing, so you do not have to speak them out, but also for the audience. The 3A question is, in what ways are you frequently offended? And 3B is, how do you normally react when somebody says or does something to hurt you? So these are the questions I want you to kind of think on today, and then also do day 2 in the back of your books. Not chapter 2. The back of the book has a day 1 that you did already. Do day 2. But think about these questions, and then we can talk about these offline. So same for the audience. In what ways are you frequently offended? And how do you normally react when somebody says or does something to hurt you? And that's gonna help you as you're processing this material. So I bless your day, and I'm gonna pray. Father, thank you. I thank you for releasing this material because it's such an issue. The enemy has had a lot of success with this tool, and the more the tool is exposed, and the fruit of the tool and the way the tool impacts, the more freedom the church can get. And I ask that you would reveal what needs to be revealed, Would you help us to see what we need to see and give us the grace and the strength and the will to deal with it? We bless you. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Be blessed, guys.
Stop.